And today's guest on the Financial Planner Live podcast is Paola Forsberg. Spending 11 years as a private banker, she's very used to dealing with wealth managers and financial planners. But now she is a LinkedIn expert, and we have a power hour of gold for you. Loads of LinkedIn tips to up your client and introducer attraction strategy and to get you those quality leads through the door. You do not want to miss this episode. And today I'm joined by Paola Forsberg, the LinkedIn lady that I've known for quite some time. She's a whiz on LinkedIn at generating clients, especially for financial planners. So how are you doing, Paola?
Very well, thank you. How are you? Looking great, as always.
Oh, thank you. I was going to say the same to you. You look fantastic. I mean, we've known each other for quite some time now, haven't we? I think when my daughter was just born, your first was just born. You've had a few more kids since. Time flies because she's 7 years old. So technically, I've known you for quite some time.
Yeah, indeed.
Fantastic. So how have you been anyway? Good?
Yeah, good. It's entrepreneurial chaos with the kids. 3 businesses between myself and my husband, but love it and wouldn't change it, to be honest.
Fantastic. And it's amazing to see you're still in the world of LinkedIn and helping businesses generate new income by utilizing the power of LinkedIn. It is networking on steroids. I've said it so many times. And I think in a profession like financial planning, where they're late adopters to technology, marketing, that kind of thing, they are missing a trick when it comes to using LinkedIn to generate business. And they're spending silly money on things like paid advertising, Google ads or Facebook ads. Tell us a little bit about some of the horror stories you've come across from companies you're speaking to and the amount of money they've spent on failed lead generation.
Oh gosh, I can tell you 3 stories just from the last 2 weeks, actually. That a face-to-face meeting with a financial advisor in Cornwall, and he told me they've spent £80,000 GBP in the last quarter, leading to, I think it was 1 lead in 3 months. I mean, it's astonishing.
What was the
another one?
With that one, what was the actual campaign then? What were they doing?
Oh, they were buying lead lists. So cold calling. Yeah. Another one I spoke to was saying to me last week, he was spending 10 to 15 to 20,000 pounds per month. And in the last 6 months, he's seen 0 results. And another guy I spoke to, actually, I think it was a St. James's Place partner. He was saying that he is buying leads, but when he contacts them, they're fake. And he was also telling me that the lead generator is selling the same client names to 5 other advisors.
Oh, so there's some proper naughty people in the lead generation world, promising the earth, charging a lot of money, but delivering sweet FA.
Mm-hmm.
That is not good. Not good to hear. Kind of good to hear for me, because that means that I know there's people spending quite an awful lot of money or willing to spend money on actually generating clients. And it's an area that we want to dominate. You know, Paola, you do it as a living. You know, you've been doing it for the last 7 years. But the one thing that I think both you and I share is integrity and honesty and wanting to build relationships and actually give value for the services that we offer. Now, that's the purpose of today's podcast episode. You're not here to try and get people to buy your services. What we want to do today is we want to empower people to recognize that LinkedIn is a tool that they can use, and there are things that they can do that will help them generate income using the platform. So let's just kick things off a little bit. Let's just talk about LinkedIn first, okay? Let's talk. Actually, before we do that, I just want to tell just briefly your background when it comes to financial services, so people know what you're talking about.
Okay, so I used to work for investment banks and wealth management companies for 11 years, made it all the way up to director level, always selling to financial advisors. So, you know, I've been at companies like Merrill Lynch, BlackRock, JP Morgan, you name it. Started in Canary Wharf, went to the city, entered in Mayfair, and then moved to Cornwall, where I am today. But I think rather than pushing products on financial advisors, equity portfolios and that sort of thing, I thought if I start my own business and actually on the other side provide a service to them, that could work. And it's very interesting because you speak to people that are owners of the business. You really get to get into their head, see what their desires are. You talk about interesting things like they want to scuba dive, or they want to buy a new Aston Martin, things like that. You really get behind the person, which I love, and then genuinely helping them, which is phenomenal.
Fantastic. And what I love as well is there is a distinction, isn't there, between B2B and B2C. Mm-hmm. And for me, I enjoy much more business to business than I do B2C. I have a higher success rate on business to business than I do on B2C. And I think with financial planners in general, there can often be this idea that they have to go direct to consumer, and they don't look at things like actually targeting businesses to be able to offer services to them, or to create things like introducer relationships that down the line will provide referrals of clients. So that's your world. That's what you specialize in. You understand it, but also you understand the mindset and what goes through financial planners because you've worked with them through the private banking sector.
Yeah, I sold to them for 11 years. I know the lingo, I know the magazines they attend, all the seminars. I've been to probably 50 of them at least myself. All the awards, I really, know them inside out. But it is very interesting also what you're saying about business to business, because I've helped financial advisors not just look for clients, but like you say, actually reach out to lawyers or solicitors to then refer business to each other. And that is phenomenally strong on LinkedIn and really, really works.
Fantastic. And you obviously work with companies, you work with financial planning firms to help them develop those relationships. That's part of what you do. That is your service to them, and you do that successfully, and it's evidence-based, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. Right. Well, let's get into it first, because there's lots of people here at the moment that want to get stuck into LinkedIn. They see the power of it, but they're crippled, or they're paralyzed by fear, or they're paralyzed by not really truly understanding how to use it, what the processes are. Maybe they haven't built the habits around it. Maybe they don't see the value in it as much as, say, someone like you and me do. So where should we start on LinkedIn then? What's the first bit of advice that you would give somebody when it comes to using LinkedIn to generate business?
There's so many things, but I would say number one, and this is what I do for my clients as well, is optimize your LinkedIn profile. And it's things like, look at the photograph. What kind of message do you want to portray? Are you very professional? Are you a bit friendly? What's the clientele you're looking to approach? Look at the background picture. A lot of people have cities, New York, this, that, and the other. But I think if you flip it a little bit and actually get the banner in picture form saying who you help and how you help them, talk to your target audience, that in itself can really help. Things like the summary in your LinkedIn profile, really make sure you write the copy so that it's highly enticing to your specific target audience. You don't have to talk about yourself and all the rewards you have and all the experience that you have. Speak to them. What you want really is for them to read about you, see your profile, and get the feeling of, oh, you know what, he or she, I need to speak to them. He or she is basically the solution to my problem. If you can create that atmosphere, you're on to a winner. So
Fantastic.
Less talk about you, more talking about them.
So less about who I am. And I think often it's confusing with LinkedIn, isn't it? Because I think it can also be used as a tool to get a job.
Of
right?
course.
So people then kind of see it as a CV, almost an online CV, but it can work in the way that you said. You can talk about the things that you've achieved, but that's a little bit more so at the bottom around like your work experience. But actually you need to be looking at that summary of like, well, what am I doing that can solve problems for other people? Exactly. I love what you said about the picture. A picture says 1,000 things. The banner is a great opportunity to showcase exactly what it is your services are and what the problems you are solving. I think that's really, really good. I also think as well, like what they've brought in recently about the, you know, where you can put a hyperlink in and you can click it and it can land straight onto a landing page where you can then capture. So it could be like visit my website, but that website can actually be a page where you can book somebody in for a meeting, for example. And
Exactly.
something I'm doing actually, you know, where like the featured bit at the bottom is where it says like featured posts.
Yeah.
And often people put like their best post they put out and it's got the most likes. But I saw someone had created like find out about my services and created an image, put it on it, and then turn that into a hyperlink that then goes to a relevant page. So I think, you know, optimizing your landing page is exactly what it is. It's a landing page. Gives people an idea about your career, but it also gives people more of an idea about the solutions that you have and the services that you offer, which comes in really, really handy when you then link in with people or you send connection requests or you send messages, because the first thing they're going to do, Paola, is they're going to look at you, aren't they?
Exactly. And another important thing is to try and get testimonials from clients that are already using you. So the way you use that, and some people use it for articles, you can also use it for testimonials. And you can just copy and paste and you have 5 or 6 testimonials at the bottom in sort of a carousel, if you like. That's worked really well as well. And when you're saying booking a call, that's something I do for myself and many of my clients. Incorporate a call link into either the About Me section or at the bottom, or like you say, hyperlink it through a website. And that works really well because people just book and you sit back, you don't lift the finger, but you get notification on your phone. Oh, James wants to talk to me on Thursday at 3:00. Job done. That's how you get leads coming to you and directly contacting you. So it's a bit of a setup behind the scenes. You know, you really need to make sure not just that your LinkedIn profile is optimized, but also look at your website, look at all the things that they can see, that they actually in sync with each other and all say the same message, focusing on the target audience.
It's interesting because although I spend a lot of my time on LinkedIn and I get a lot of business through LinkedIn, I've got some optimizing to do on my page. In the background, I've been building some other products and services that I offer. So I've been really kind of, I can see my LinkedIn page isn't how I want it to be, but because I haven't built it in the background yet to put it on there. So I'm itching to kind of get that on there because I know how valuable it's going to be when I start my outreach campaign, which I've barely done really is my outreach campaign. But outreach campaigns on LinkedIn, you know, it's a sales role. It's selling yourself. It's reaching out to people. It's time consuming. And there is an art to building connections, communicating with people that doesn't feel like you're one of those annoying people that are just spamming them and trying to sell them something in the first message, etc. So let's talk a little bit about now. So we've optimized our pages. We've made it look really good. There's some real great beneficial things to do on there in the first place. If you're not doing that, get stuck into that in the first point of call. What next, do you think?
So I would just say a very last thing, because there's another new feature. You know, when you can record your name and people say Paola instead of, a lot of people call me Paula or Paolo, but you can use it as a 10 to 30 second sales pitch.
I did not know that.
I help financial advisors generate quality clients predictably. Job done. Little things like that. So it's just utilizing the tools, not traditionally how people use them. Don't say your name. Say something completely different.
But you know what? That's a great tip because I didn't know that. That's really, really great. So I'm definitely going to do that after this call. So thank you for that one. That's brilliant. Yeah, most people just say how to pronounce my name. But
exactly.
No one cares about that, do they?
Exactly.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, brilliant. Well, that's some great tips there about optimization. So someone's going to land on your page. Consider your LinkedIn page like a landing page. Optimize it and make sure, can you capture people? Are you selling even if they're just looking at your page and you're not even communicating with them? So that's some great tips. So what next then? What next can they do?
So they can obviously connect with people. And there are 2 ways of doing that. You can either do a connector campaign. This is to new people that you would like to become your clients, and you write a message campaign. I'll go through that in a second, how you do that and potentially what to write. And the second thing you can do, you can go to your existing network. There might be some people in your network that are actually a potential dream client. So you can do a messaging campaign. So a connector campaign goes to your second degree connections, and a messaging campaign goes to people you already connected with a first degree connection. And messaging, exactly like you say, and I think this is why so many people don't use it. They don't want to reach out directly to people. Maybe it's being British and quite, professional as well, the platform. But you can do it. Again, don't do it like other people do it. Become personal. I've done things like, and this is not even part of a campaign, I go to people and say, happy birthday. They reach out to you, they look at your LinkedIn profile, and bam, they've booked a call with you. It works. I do things like comment on people's posts. Again, you can comment on people's posts that are people you would like to become a client of yours, or you can go to people that already sell to your target audience and comment on their posts. The beauty of this, when you comment on other people's posts, it gets shown to all of their audience, but every time something happens on that post, it also gets shown to all of your audience. So the algorithm there is very, very clever.
That's a great tip. That is part of the social selling bit. And I think that's the bit that people lack confidence on because they don't quite, A, know what to say on somebody else's post. That's one thing. And B, they lack confidence. They don't think that someone's going to take, it's like imposter syndrome, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what a great bit of advice to follow, say, the top 30 financial planners or the top 30 solicitors or whatever it might well be, and connect with them and comment on their posts so their followers can see. I mean, that's a strategy that people probably don't do. They're more inclined to send a connection request to somebody and say absolutely nothing. Whereas actually, once you've connected with them, what are you doing to nurture the relationship once you've connected? And how much impact is that having in respect of getting your name seen by people that you want to see your name and therefore driving that inbound business, right?
And one thing that I do, which a lot of people will know this already, I comment on people's posts and I ask a very specific question. And again, once they answer you, because people do, they always answer a question, you get shown to their entire audience, plus your entire connection pool sees all of that as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very organic, but very working smart, not hard approach.
And it's very much how the algorithm works. And people don't quite understand algorithms. I don't think anybody does because they change them all the time. But there are things and there are habits and processes that you can build that if you follow that process and if you follow that structure, the more you do it, the algorithm will reward you because the algorithm wants to reward engagement and it wants to reward people that use their platform. So if you're trying to drive people off a page by putting a hyperlink in there or something like that, it doesn't really like it. Whereas if you're actually engaging on the platform and starting conversation, it rewards you and you get seen more and more and more. It's often I look and I'm like, why do I keep seeing that person all the time pop up? It's because they're interacting with the platform and they're commenting in it. And I'll tell you what, I'm a bit guilty of that. I put a lot of content out and often I don't tend to interact on others. So that's definitely something I'm going to ramp up more of myself. And I'm going to start to measure to see what success I'm having in respect of impressions, profile visitors, direct messages that come into me because of it and connection requests. That's a really useful inbound strategy, but also a great way to build that personal brand awareness. And I love what you said about asking the questions, because when you ask the questions they answer, you then can come back over with your opinion, which shows your authority and knowledge within that certain sector, which then builds deeper trust, right?
Exactly, 100%. And another thing on that as well, and not a lot of people do this possibly, and I'm not currently doing it myself, but looking to start it more in January, is to do posts. And what you can do with posts is pretty much 3 things you want to focus on. One of them is value add. So tips, how do you write a LinkedIn profile? How does the algorithm work? How do I get results? All of these things, and you give that advice. Secondly, could be, I think you do this quite a lot, actually, get to know Sam or get to know Paola. Could be running a marathon, something about your family, something about you, because people still buy from people. Yeah, and people really like when people are being themselves. The third thing, which is really, really clever, is you ask your target audience questions, maybe in terms of a poll. And these should be things that you want to learn about your target audience. And that's really clever.
I think that's really spot on.
Yeah.
And you ask, I'm going to go back to the posting, right? So posting is a strategy I do often. So I have a content strategy. It starts with a podcast. It's video first. So I've got the podcast. I record it. It goes out on audio, but then I also record via video, which allows me then to carve that video up into content, of which I then can use on social media, on LinkedIn. So out goes a post. People then see me as somebody that's asking questions and getting an answer from their peers. So it builds trust. It also gives knowledge. It drives people to see me and my authenticity, especially if we're talking about something personal to them, a problem that individual of the audience that I'm looking to inspire, we're answering questions that they're coming up against. Might be like why going self-employed doesn't need to be scary, and someone's like, oh, I'm thinking about going self-employed, but it is scary. So I'm going to listen to the answer. I think that's really, really important. What you can then do is, like, when you're posting, is that you'll then, from the posting, it definitely, for me, gives me brand awareness. So I have a kind of habit of trying to like post something specific on specific days. So I've got a newsletter, I've got a podcast. I might then do the question I ask somebody, and then I might do a separate introduction I record for the podcast and post that on another day. But what I then do is I then carve that content up, and I'll then put it on my company page as well. So I'll swap it around on different company pages or different personal profiles within my business to get that mass exposure. And I think that works really, really well. And I would say, like, based on purely a strategy around posting, that's what mine's been. I've got like nearly 1.7 million organic impressions in the last 12 months purely from just posting. So already I'm thinking, bloody hell, Sam, if you just introduce the commenting on people's posts more often and interacting, that's going to shoot up even further. So definitely posting is a very valuable way to show that you are authentic and true. I talk about mental health, right? Mental health for me is massively important.
Look at your post the other day about writing yourself an email. Phenomenal response.
Yeah, I think I had and when I look at, and we'll get into this in a minute, because it's another thing that I want people to think about as well, is that if you look at the actual people who commented, and you look at the people who liked it, 90% are my target audience.
Yes, exactly. Financial advisors. Yeah. So I was going to mention that today, but you're on it.
Yeah, it's resonating with those individuals. And it comes to that point, doesn't it? I think don't treat LinkedIn like it's a Facebook or an Instagram, right? You're not trying to follow people that, you're trying to follow people, try to build connections with people that you want to do business with, right? Because what's the point in creating all that content for your friends and family to see it, but they're never going to buy something from you?
Exactly.
What other tips, Paola? What else can we talk about here when it comes to LinkedIn?
Trying to think. There's so many things you can do, You can obviously automate things. One thing I would say, very important with the posts, don't sit on a Tuesday and go, right, I went for a run yesterday. How is this linked with work? A lot of people do this. It works, but you want to try and get 12 months or at least 6 months worth of content and posts done in advance. And there's so many companies out there where you can automate this. So really sit down and think about it. And another good thing is Tuesdays, 10 a.m., don't ask me why, get the most interaction out of all times.
Oh.
Second is Thursday morning around between 10 and 11. And lastly, Friday. So you could do a quick wins campaign, either per email or connecting with people on LinkedIn, and you write it so that it comes out Tuesday, Thursday and Friday. And you can do this either in connection request, messaging request, or posts as well, because they're really engaging at those times.
Yeah. I think one of the things that people struggle with LinkedIn is coming up with the ideas for content. Yeah. That can be a real struggle. And I'm lucky because I've got a podcast that creates ideas for me.
Yeah.
A bit of market research, if you like, but it also creates content that I can actually share. So you've got to get a bit clever around what it is you want to talk about and how you're creating that content in the first place, and how then you can redistribute it and repurpose it.
So what you can do, which is very naughty,
Yeah.
you can make your profile completely private.
Right.
And then you go and look at people that are very successful at posting. Let's pretend I make my profile private. Then I go and look at Sam Oakes and I look at all his posts. I look at the ones that get a lot of engagement. I look at the ones that get a lot of comments. I look at the ones that get a lot of likes, etc. And I can sit there and make notes. And then I can go back to my profile, make it public. You will never know that I looked at it. But if you are very clear on who your ideal content writers, if you like, are, that's one way of doing it. To get inspiration, don't copy and paste.
Well, I tell you what, it's something that I've asked somebody to do in my office, and what you've said there is absolutely spot on. So I've identified around sort of 5 recruitment consultants that are really good at posting, and what they're really good at is posting the written word, right? So I'm video based, very hard to copy me unless you want to get on a video, right? And a lot of people don't have confidence to do that. So what I've said to her is, I said, look, do exactly that. Go and look at their previous posts, because you can go back historically through all their posts and actually see what they've
all archived.
Yeah,
yes.
it's all archived. So then all you do on that, I've said to her, we got ChatGPT-4. So I said, take that, put it into ChatGPT-4 and just quickly repurpose it. You've actually got probably 60 ideas. You don't have to copy what ChatGPT said, because it can often sound a bit crap, but you repurpose it, put it into a document, but there's 60 days of your posts that are doing really well on somebody else's that you've just rewritten, and you take it, put it on there, you're 80% there, because all you're going to do is maybe put something that's happened in the news or something that's relevant around that post, mix it up, change it, maybe take a photograph, or I'll tell you what, this is brilliant one way to do it. Take it, turn it into a video.
Yeah.
Talking to your camera, get a camera that's got the subtitles app that's on it, and I tell people which one I use when I use it. It's not Camo. What's it called? Oh, bloody hell. It'll come to me in a minute.
Camo is really good, though.
It is Camo, maybe. Let's have a look. Yeah, not Camo. Oh, God. I'll come back to it in a minute. But anyway, there's simple video apps that you can use. You can put your logo on it, and it will also do these subtitles for you. And it's like £3 a month. So when you look at other people's posts, turn them into scripts.
Yeah.
And then quickly then you've got video content that you can record and put out really, really quickly. So the person who spent a long, long time creating the content, go out there and farm it and mine it. Why not? Repurpose it. Listen, it's not stealing. Do you know why? Because everybody's doing it. It's called repurposing content. What do you think? You've just come up with the idea and the concept before anybody else. There's a million people who've got a podcast like me posting out there. In fact, I copied a chap I went onto his podcast, inspired me to set my own up. My philosophy is, and even on that podcast, I talked about who's doing something and can you do it better? That's my concept. Can I do it better? Can I do it differently? And that's a great example of very quickly mining for content. And I think that's a really, really useful tool to get people started and get them out there, finding the content that's relevant.
And another little tip on that actually is hashtags.
Yep.
So you'll see people that are very successful, including yourself. You will use hashtags that you've looked at, has got hundreds and thousands, millions of followers. In your space, hashtag financial planning is huge. So if you incorporate that into each and every of your posts, you get guaranteed that that gets showed to a massive chunk of your target audience, ideal people.
Yeah, and I think, like, don't get carried away with hashtags, like one or two, 3 or 4 is the max.
Maximum, yeah. Possibly 3, but they have to be relevant to your target audience.
They have to be relevant to the target audience, and there has to be a following on it. Otherwise, it can limit the reach. So if you type in hashtag, let's say you make it up, hashtag Men's Mental Health Thursday, because you think, oh, that sounds really good, but actually nobody's following that, and the algorithm recognizes that and actually limits the reach your post can actually have. So if the hashtag has got more followers, the likelihood that it's going to hopefully get more reach. I don't know the ins and outs of hashtags. It's one of those things that I do. Do I search based on hashtags? Never. No. I never search based on hashtags.
But it's something. So to give you a little example, so COVID happened, right?
Yeah.
Business owners were quite clever on LinkedIn, because they would just do hashtag COVID, and they knew this was being shown to millions and millions and millions of people. So if they had posted that on LinkedIn without that specific hashtag, it would have gotten shown to a lot of people. But because they included that hashtag, it added millions of people.
Yeah, very
that
clever.
Their content got shown to. So that's the way to use it, really.
Also, it's a great way to identify competitors, and it's also a great way to identify customers as well. So searching the hashtags is a useful thing to do. It's like if I search hashtag financial planning, I often see, well, who is actually posting in that space and what are they posting about? So it kind of inspires me. Or again, I can jump onto their posts that they're making and start commenting on it, which means I'm going to get seen by relevant people because they're talking about the relevant things. So I think that's a really useful tip. Cool, we're getting some good tips out at the moment because I'm getting fired up to how I can improve what I'm doing and build a bit of a strategy around it. I think the beautiful thing about this episode as well, it's about kind of cutting down on the worry and the thing that stops you from doing something, just getting on with it. Because I think you can go on LinkedIn and before you know it, you're scrolling and you're procrastinating, you compare and despair, you're putting yourself into a thing, I can't be as good as that person and all that kind of stuff. And then you come off of it and you've wasted 50 minutes or an hour and you haven't done anything effective. And I think a big fear for business owners is like, why are you on social media when you should be phoning up people and speaking to them? You should be getting clients. It's like, well, I am trying to. Like, I run a recruitment company. 90% of our business comes through LinkedIn. So day in, day out, people are on LinkedIn. But at the same time, I'm like, what are you doing on there? You know, what is your actual strategy for generating clients and candidates? So let's talk about how people can't waste time. What's the most effective way to build connections and build engagement that turns into clients? Let's look at this part now, because the messaging element and the connection request element, let's talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. So you can do two things. You can either connect with people that you don't know, but you would love for them to be part of your connection pool and a potential client, and do a messaging campaign to them. It could be something so simple as, I see we got mutual connections. But if you're really clever about it, you can also, which is a new feature, go into groups. And if you're really into a specific yacht or a specific watch or whatever it is, go and find those groups. Was very determined. He went to a specific boarding school when he was younger. And I thought, oh, is that going to be on LinkedIn? It was on LinkedIn. And he reached out to this specific group, and something along the lines of, I'm alumni the year he graduated. He got so many responses. Bear in mind, he's not selling. They're his ideal target audience, and he was very highly targeted. He knew it was going to convert to business, but he just started a conversation. I went to this school, graduated this year. They replied, oh, so did I. I was 2 years under you, 2 years before you. How are you? This, that, and the other. Right. And like you said before, they then go and look at his profile, he's optimized it, and they might book a call through calling, or at least ask him, can we see each other for a coffee? So finding commonalities is very, very important. It's exactly like you say, you don't want, and I get these all the time, it really, really annoys me. Message one, hi, I'm Stephanie. We do this. Do you want to engage in our services? No, I have no idea who you are. You know, it doesn't work. And I think that's the thing with LinkedIn. People still buy from people. And what I love about LinkedIn is that you can see the picture, you can see the profile, you can see the experience. And if you're really clear about who you want to reach out to and find commonalities, and don't sell to them, have a chat, start, very light, you will get engagement. And on the messaging, so you can do connect a campaign, or you can do a messaging campaign. Messaging campaign could be to people that are already in your network, or I've used it with clients. They do a messaging campaign to existing clients to upsell them a new product or service. It really works because they're already buying from you. You just do a messaging campaign to mention something new. So they might have taken IHT in-house in addition to pension services, for example. So that works really, really well as well. But like I said before, you can do it very organically comment on people, say happy birthday, tell them, oh, I saw you viewed my profile. Just conversation, be real. I still do a lot of it manually. So I probably dedicate, I would say, time-wise, half an hour each morning just to look at posts, commenting, connecting, a little bit of activity, if you like. And it really helps the algorithm, and it helps me being shown to my ideal target audience. I forgot what I was going to say now, but yeah, it really works. Either doing specific, oh yes, what I was going to say, and I do this manually, but you can obviously automate a lot of this, and that's when you can really scale. You can send the message to hundreds of people, thousands, but bear in mind, you sound authentic and don't sell. Add value and speak their language, and you will get people reaching out to you directly.
Paola, some great tips there. I love that. You know, being personable. Nothing worse than receiving a message which sounds like someone's shouting at you, all their things that they can do for you, but not even identifying that you are a target client of theirs. I get people, you know, Sam, you know, you're a financial planner. It's like, no, I'm not. You know,
I get that. Apparently, I'm a financial advisor. No, I'm not.
I'm not a financial planner at all. You've got completely the wrong, you know, you haven't looked at my profile. But what that also tells me is that they've probably just copy paste. Or if they are using an automated system, they haven't selected the appropriate persona or target client of that service, and they're wasting time and energy even speaking to me. And in fact, possibly I could mark them as spam. One of the things I just want people to understand as well when they're listening to this is that LinkedIn is like a CRM. It's an interactive marketing CRM, but you have to put work and energy and effort in it. But it's a CRM that gets updated by them, the people in your CRM. You don't have to update it. And there are tools and things where you can add notes, for example, you know, and you can use Sales Navigator to segment clients and all these typical types of things. And we can talk about that in a bit more detail in a minute. But ultimately, it's a CRM, it's a sales platform that you can use that's updated by the people within it already. So it's like a live CRM, and the information that you can gather on there to hyper personalize is amazing, but you have to take time and energy to spend it on it. Now you could just think, right, I could send 100 messages this week, 100, because you get, like, for example, most people don't know this, but you get 100 connection requests a week. So on LinkedIn, you're limited to 100 connection requests to build your network, but unlimited follows, for example, right? So, but are you sending 100 connection requests and not having something meaningful to say? Are you sending 100 connection requests that are utter rubbish? Because you could send 20 connection requests that are hyper-personalized that will get a response. So it's being smart about how you do it and spending your time accordingly, knowing who you're looking to target and why. When you work, you obviously, what you do is you work on behalf of firms, financial planning firms, and you actually help to identify who their target clients are, how to actually interact with them, and then how to reach out. In fact, you take it a step further and you do it for them via means of automation, but you're hyper-personalizing it. It's not completely robotic. You are the human element that adds value into it as well. But you can't do that, can you, unless you sit down with a financial advisor, for instance, to actually ascertain who their target client is or who their target introducer should be and why. Can we just run through a little bit about what sort of things people really should be thinking about when they decide to create an outreach campaign on LinkedIn, whether it's a connection request or whether it's a message?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I would say to get very good results with lead generation, there's two key things. One, you have to know your target audience inside out. The highly targeted it is, the better results you will get, and the easier it will be for you to convert them from a lead into a paying client. The second thing, number two, you have to have very strong, unique selling points. So I'll give you an example. I speak to a lot of financial advisors. Some of them come to me and say, just give me rich lawyers. Right. It's not going to work. It's a little bit like if you were to say to me, Paola, find me a house in England. You're not going to find your dream house that way. But if you tell me it has to be a 3-bedroom, in Mayfair with space for 2 garages. It has to have a pool, whatever it is. We're now talking criteria. That's a nice client, isn't it? Lots of criteria. Now we're talking. Now I can start helping you. And the more you know, the better in detail. Postcode, you know, what schools they go to, what magazines they're reading, what sport they're into. All these things will really help. So saying, find me rich lawyers is not going to work. If you say to me, he needs to be 40 to 45, he's a partner of a law firm, he's earning 120 to 180 grand a year, he's got at least 10 years experience, you know, again, criteria. Now I can start looking at potentially helping you. And the second thing, the unique selling points, some people say to me, oh, I sell to anyone. And this is a big problem, because when you start targeting by messaging to people, you have to be able to speak to them. And you can't speak to a lawyer and a teacher and a retired person and, you know, graduates all at the same time. It doesn't work that way. So I often say to clients, find the one thing in your business that you really want to push. And make that possibly the thing that gives you the most revenue, but really know that and speak to that. You can't help everyone. If you sell to everyone, you sell to no one. You really do. So be niche. And those two things are very, very key. Knowing your target audience and having strong, unique selling points. Those are the people that get the best results through lead generation.
That's amazing. I love that. No, you're absolutely spot on. And I suspect in your line of work, people, if they're not forthcoming with that information, you can't do your job, can you? Yeah. So it kind of works in the same. Yeah, it works in the same way, doesn't it?
I've started a survey, and I know from experience and many years now doing this, people that give me one answer, one word answers rather, I'm not going to be able to help them. You can't just say, I want billionaires in England. Okay, that's great. But, you know, we need to sort of like, so my questionnaire has got questions like, and this is something that I think a lot of businesses should do. I ask financial advisors, why did you start your business? What was the mission? What's the goal? Why do people buy from you? What are the desired incomes that your clients want? What problems are you actually solving for them? What keeps your clients up at night? How are you charging them? How do you take a stranger from a how do you take a stranger to a paying customer? All of these things, you know. And people that give me long answers, sometimes essays, it feels like, they get the best results. And it comes back to know your target audience. The people that can answer these questions in full, they get phenomenal results. They really do.
I think, it's the classic marketing tactic of understanding your buyer's persona, isn't it?
Yeah.
And less is more, and do a good job reaching out and to build that authenticity. We talked a little bit about when we receive a really annoying message in our inbox that just shouts at us all the things that the person does. Can I sort of ask you, what sort of times, how many times back and forth what's the average time back and forth before, say, somebody books into your diary? You know, is there a number that comes up a lot as an average in respect of a conversation, if you like?
So when I do automated outreach, I usually have somewhere between 6 and 8 messages, and they might span between a month and 2 months to a financial advisor. Interestingly enough, I've done a lot of statistics on this. Between message 4 and message 7 is when people reply. Don't know why. Or they reply straight away. Those two things are almost what always works. So it just goes to show, and this, I think, is one of the key elements of follow-up. Some people say to me, oh, let's start a messaging campaign. This is the criteria. This is the person I want to reach out to. Let's just send them one message where I talk about what I do, and then they'll all come with clients. Or it does really work like that. And I try and show them, you know, if we do little snippets of, you know, 3 to 5 to 8 messages, they will come to you, and they do. Yeah. But often not immediately. Yeah. But another thing, this is a really good tip as well. when you target people, so I use Sales Navigator on LinkedIn as a huge tool. And there's a little filter at the very, very, very bottom that people might not know about, but it's, oh my God, it's invaluable. It says, has this person been online in the last 30 days? If you enable that, you know that your messaging campaign is now going to people that A, will look at your message, B, open, and 3, C, most possibly reply to you. That's a very, very cool little nugget, if you like. Very well worth enabling at the bottom when you do research.
Very, very cool. Can I assume then, let's say, for example, you went through the process with me and we identified like 100 types of clients that I would want to bring on underneath the Financial Planner Life. And then we went through that campaign and we found that 70 of them do actually interact online, but 30 of them don't. Would you then approach those 30 that don't in a different way, perhaps off of LinkedIn? Is there anything that you would take from LinkedIn and then put it into a different outreach program?
Yeah, so what I've done is use a MailChimp. So you do an email campaign instead. People say email is dead. It's not dead. I'm not going to bore you with all the statistics, but it definitely still works. And you know from yourself, if you buy a house and you email your solicitor, it's per email, or you contact your solicitor, it's per email. Even children's teachers, you know, pack this, that, and the other for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's all per email. You know, you buy a new car, even buying a flight. Where do you get the confirmation? Per email. So email is very much still alive, and that's something that I would probably use for people that are not so active on LinkedIn.
When you
and you can again automate it through MailChimp. Is a really big one, good one.
So, like, you know, when you mentioned that you automate your processes, so let's say you put it into an eight message sequence. Do you then use the 8 message sequence, copy and paste it from your transcript or whatever, or your document that you've created it on? Do you use the same language and structure in an email that you would say in an in-mail?
It's similar, but obviously in an email you have to remember there's a subject heading. And it's really important to know that the subject heading, you know, there are various things like incorporate the name into both subject heading and into the body of the email, makes them open it a lot more. Again, timing when you send the email out. And this is where you can really get engagement quite strongly by doing it on Tuesday, 10 a.m., Thursday, 10 a.m., Friday, 10 a.m. Subject heading, again, you can have things like question marks. People open it. A little tip, you can do a big R, a big E with a colon. It now looks like you've had a conversation back and forth, and it makes them open it. So it's a little bit different on email. Because obviously people that are engaging on LinkedIn, they will typically just reply to you. So you don't have to possibly have those tips and tricks much in the subject heading and the body. But again, you know, I've had things just the name question mark as a 5th message, and it makes people go, oh God, I'm so sorry, Paola, I haven't got back to you. And that's part of a sequence, literally name question mark. And it works. But what's important here is it has to be customized. So, you know, I even sometimes do, if there's 100, maybe 6 of them are women, and you can write something there like, oh, it's so nice seeing another kick-ass woman in finance. You know, you have to just really look at what it is. Or if 5 of them, you've seen them posted, then maybe incorporate. It's so nice to see that you're active on LinkedIn. It's something I use a lot, and hopefully you see the benefits. Or, you know, if they've been on a roadshow, hope it was good. Maybe 10 of them were at the same roadshow. Little things like that. Just, yes, it takes a little bit more time, but then maybe you do 25, 25, 25, 25 instead of 100. Just, you know, you definitely do not want it to look automated if you go down the automation route.
The thing that I'm understanding with this as well, and there is time and energy and effort that goes into planning if you're going to do an effective outreach program. It is a job. It's a job to do it, and it's a skill to do it. And when you're spinning multiple plates, trying to see clients or training people in your business, you know you want to do it and you know the importance of doing it, but you have to account for it within your business from a cost perspective, because it's time and it's energy. And if you can't do it yourself, but you know that you're going to get results from it and you want to do it, then you're going to have to pay for it. And I think we often as business owners are looking for the quickest solution to getting us the most money. And you went through that earlier, didn't you, with people that are spending 80 grand on buying leads and it's not working. And it's heartbreaking to hear that, if I'm honest with you, that people are being bullshitted that hard. Do you offer, like, obviously with your services, you offer this for clients, right? So your clients are financial planners, for example, to win new business, whether it's introducers or whether it's clients. You work with them, you go through the process, you get them set up. And you manage, I guess, you manage the automation for them. You get the information out of them. You work with them. What I love as well, you touched on, like, between 1 and 2 months, it can take sometimes to actually get an appointment. So again, expectation wise, it's not transactional. It's an investment over time. It takes time to do it. What I'm getting at with this is, it's like they have to spend money to make money.
Yeah.
Right? They have to spend money with you to make money, but they're getting value from you as an individual by digging deep and understanding the personas of the clients and setting up the campaigns. And then you manage all that for them, right? What do you do in this part then?
Well, it's interesting you're saying this, because I have so many conversations and I say to people, why don't you optimize your own profile? You don't need me. Why don't you write a little messaging campaign? You don't need me. Just go ahead. I'll tell you exactly how to do. And I've been asked many, many times, why don't you do a program with videos of exactly how to do it and just sell as a one-off? But for some reason, they don't want to do it on their own. I don't know why. And maybe it's the interaction. So what I do once I've set up, obviously do the survey, set up the profile, do the messaging, I log in every single day into their campaigns to see when they have a lead. And I then send them an SMS or a WhatsApp saying, James, you have a lead. Here's his mobile. He wants a coffee Thursday, 3:00. So they never miss a lead, because again, follow-up is key. It's something they can do themselves. But for some reason, they quite like that, having someone else being responsible, I guess, for that aspect. Just checking in,
Paola, I think there's something in that, because I've worked with people from a lead generation perspective, and I've had it myself, right? So I generate a lot of leads. They come into the business. I then distribute them and they don't get dealt with. It's like you could literally place something on somebody's lap, but they won't do anything with it still. And I think that's either a time thing or a confidence thing, So I think having that part of the process where you are G'ing it along and helping them to actually kind of almost qualify that person and say, this is exactly what, and actually, because you pre-qualify first, so if anything does come in, it should be a high ticket type opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
So you're G'ing them along and saying, you need to speak to this person because you're going to get business. Because remember that 2-hour conversation we had around the persona of your client and the time and energy it took to actually run this campaign and the cost associated to it. That client in your inbox could be worth the amount of money that you've paid with me to do it. And I think, marketing essentially would take that lead and put them into a funnel, like a nurturing funnel to build a relationship. Do you do any of that, or do you pass that on into their internal teams to develop and do it themselves?
But again, I've had a lot of question around this. Can you help close the sale?
Yeah.
At the minute, I don't do that. It's something I'm potentially looking at launching in 2024. But, a business owner, they know their business better than anyone else. No matter how many survey questions I do, how many campaigns, optimization, copywriting I do for them, once the call comes through, they know it better than anyone. They should be able to close that deal, because they really know why they set up the business, how they're helping people, why people are buying from them. I'm just really helping in making the leads come through to them. So at the moment, I give the leads to them. I make sure they never miss a lead, but to make the lead a paying customer is on the financial planner.
Yeah, that's absolutely spot on. And at the end of the day, if you've hyper-focused, fine-tuned down your audience, you only need 5 really good appointments to make money. I find that I don't need lots of appointments of good quality people. It's just the, like anybody, it's the work involved in the beginning to get the results at the end. And
Exactly.
it's the investment. You know, a financial advisor wouldn't say, you know, stick 100 grand in here and then next week it's going to be worth 120 grand. They'd say keep it in there for 5 years and it'll be worth that much money.
Yeah.
You know, so I think when you're trying to get business owners to understand that you have to invest in sales and you have to invest in marketing and you have to invest in lead generation for a return on investment over a period of time, people need to get out of that mindset that it's a transactional thing and start to look at what they do and what they tell their clients and how long they have to wait to get results and return on investment. I think that's really important. And building and running a marketing team now and a marketing business, essentially, I understand that fully. But when I started the journey, I thought everything was transactional. You know, it was some magic wand that SEO is a classic example. Yeah, we'll just optimize your website and you're going to get loads of leads. Does not work. It takes time. You know, it's time and it's energy.
Actually, as well, a lot of people ask me, can I just do a profile in my company name?
Yeah.
And you just write all the copy and we'll just put the logo of the company up there. I mean, yes, you can, but it does not work. I've never seen it yield results because they want the person. And if I optimize a profile for James, when the call comes through, they want to speak to James.
Yeah.
It works sometimes if the sales team are really integrated with James and they know, you know, his language and his clients phenomenally well. But it has to be on a person-to-person basis is what I'm trying to say here. Less transactional and more human interaction for it to work well.
The way I look at LinkedIn is it's like twofold. There's the content creation, content posting, social interaction element, right? And I would almost class that as organic because there's still a cost associated to it of time and money and energy. And if you create a podcast or videos and write articles, whatever it might well be. But then there's the outreach side of it. So you've got the social content creation, inbound brand awareness, draw people's attention to you. Wow, brilliant. They know who you are, but they're not buying anything, are they? And then there's the other side that is, I'm going to directly approach somebody with something of value to them. And not many people do both. And not many people they think if I create all the stuff on the front end, people will come to me. Now I can tell you with 1.7 million impressions, that doesn't work as well as reaching out to people, effectively reaching out to people. It works for brand awareness because do you know what happens, Paola? When I phone somebody, they're like, oh my God, it's Sam, how you doing? Yeah, I've been seeing you. I feel like I know you. And you're like, oh, really? It's like, yeah, I've seen your clips. And some people don't even listen to my podcast, but they know me from LinkedIn because I share about my podcast. So it's really great at building authority and connection and trust and brand awareness. But without the outreach, it's pointless. And do you know what? I'm going to put my hand up here. I'm being honest. I don't reach out as much as I should. I really, really don't. And when I do, I get results. So why aren't I doing it? So it's not a unusual thing we're coming up here against. I think what it actually is, Paola, if I look at myself honestly, is I'm a creative. I like talking to people. I like spending my time talking. I like spending my time creating. I run a business. I'm busy. So I think about my front end a lot. Maybe I'm a bit egotistical in that front. You know, that's maybe the part of who I am. Attention. I want people to like me. That's based on who I am. But I have attention problems. And then creating a campaign that I know works, that needs time and dedication and attention to detail, that's not me. I left school at 16 because I couldn't pay attention. Education isn't for me because I couldn't pay attention. I was too busy playing. I was too busy creating. I was too busy talking to people. And that's me. So we have to understand that, and I have to understand, this is hitting home for me, that I have to, I know it works, but I have to invest in it. And I have to build a system that's running for me. It has to run for me, but I have that beautiful interaction with you where you understand me, my persona, and it's easier for me, I guess, because you've already seen me out there, haven't you? So you've got a feel for who I am. You know what I'm about and what I'm after, the type of target client. So it makes it even easier. I just need somebody to take that process away from me because I'm not a process man.
But
I
it's
like
two
that.
things really. It's working smart
Yeah.
and not working hard. And that's what automation can do for you. You can have smaller campaigns, much more personalized, which will yield more results, but they run in the background and you can still focus on the business. But what I would say as well, which is really interesting, because a lot of clients ask this, oh, so can we start posting tomorrow? And I do it the complete opposite side. So number one, when I take someone on board, and if you do this for yourself as well, try and get as many connection requests as possible who are your ideal target audience. Once you've reached maybe 2,500 to 5,000 people in your connection pool that are your ideal target audience, now you can start posting, because now you've got an audience that is aware of you and they're looking at you. And if you can then add value to that audience, they will eventually reach out to you. It's almost like a retarget, but I would never start doing posts immediately. And also, a lot of advisors I take on board, they might have 250 connections on LinkedIn. And some of them, a lot of them, are recruiters, they are colleagues, they're ex-boss, things like that. And it's just not going to work. You need to really connect with a lot of people first, have a whole list of them. Then you can start pushing content to them. But you have, though, you've got thousands and thousands of the correct audience in your network. So you doing content works phenomenally well, as you know, but you could integrate both of them to get even bigger yield, if you like.
Paola, would you say, so I'm somebody that has lots of things going on in my head at one time, and I've kind of productized my business now, ready for a sales campaign. And I've actually got like 5 different things that I can sell. By engaging in automation and because trying to do that on my own is causing me anxiety even thinking about it. But I know that I know that there's value in it. So I'm crippled by it. Does that make sense? So
come and use me.
Yeah. So if I was to lean into you, you could actually run 5 separate campaigns to 5 separate types of connections that are relevant for that type of conversation that then leads to a high-end meeting with me, say, using the Calendly app to book a time into my diary where I'm having a video call with somebody, for instance. Yeah. That you can literally
100%.
run multiple campaigns for me.
And it's very interesting you mentioning this, because I've had firms previously, they might be based in London.
Yeah.
And they're a pension specialist. And they say, can you engage Lee and James and Nick and, all the guys? Or it's, we can, but what you want to avoid is for the same type of messages to go to the same audience from 3 or 4 different people within the same company. So Lee might be in Leeds, and I focus just on people in Leeds for him. James might be in London, so we can do campaigns, slightly different wording, but just an audience in London. It's just very important to understand this as well. But so to answer your question, yes, you can do several different campaigns, but make sure, if possible, they're either to completely different regions or at least different audiences.
And I guess also what's really beautiful about that is that I can then segment that into new messages, into new business messages, and then back to your comment that you made, I love, by the way, which is re-engaging with existing customers and selling another service to them. And then in my world where I've got 5 products that might be sold to one person, we can almost create a rotation pool timed that reintroduces stuff without me even thinking.
Yeah.
Oh shit, man, that's awesome.
And it's crazy. I've had this as well. I could probably to 15 ex-clients, if I did this video program of you do it yourself, they would buy it, even though they've used me.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, it's like, as it goes back to what I said, like business owners tend to be quite naturally, people who are salespeople tend to be quite, their brains aren't the same as yours. They don't have the time to dedicate to that element of the job. So they have to outsource it mentally because you can't do it. Like even me talking about, I know it's going to yield results, but I can't do it. So you get paralysis, productivity paralysis. and then someone comes along and steals it and does it before you, and all of a sudden, I wish I did that first. So you have to take action on the idea that you have if you want to get results. I'm really enjoying this conversation, by the way. I love spitballing and just freestyling ideas. I love it.
Brainstorming. But I think also what happens, a lot of advisors, they get so like, oh, Paola, okay, I'm going to write this and this and this and this. And okay, this is my business. And they almost get too bogged into it, and they read all these books about copywriting or direct marketing. And all of a sudden, the copy they come back with, it's not them. And you think, Richard, just chill. You have 50 clients. They're really happy. You know what you're selling to them.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes, even though they know the business inside out, it's almost easy when someone else writes the copy, because we have so many discussions and surveys. And I've had sometimes people saying to me, oh my God, you really know me. You've nailed it. I'm thinking, well, I haven't really, because you've told me through 5 conversations who you are and who you serve and what your criteria is.
What you need, though, to do your job properly, and what your client needs, the financial advisor needs to do the job properly, is exploring the concept of who is buying your product or service. And there is something I'm thinking about here with you and me, right? Is that I can generate a room full of financial planners, right? On a Zoom call, for instance, or whatever we do. Those 15 advisors could be in there. We can do a discovery call with them where they actually empower them to write down exactly who their target client is, where, how, and all of that. So we guide them through how to do it and tell them how to do the process themselves. But the ones that do it themselves, because perhaps they can't afford to outsource at this stage, right? So they could go off and have a go themselves, but maybe down the line they would then use your services. But the others will go, brilliant. Now here you are. Can you do this for me? And I think that helps the new person, but it also allows the person who's got a bit more budget spend to quickly identify the areas of the targets that they're looking for, and then pass to you to start the process over. And I think that's a really useful way of looking at this, because if you're not willing to invest in exploring who your target client is, guess fucking what? No one's going to tell you. No one's going to do it for you. If you can't be bothered to do that, then don't even bother doing the bloody sale. Don't even bother having a go at selling, because if you can't talk about what solutions you've got, if you can't talk about your target client, if you can't talk about your target introducer, then you're wasting your time anyway. So I love that. I love that.
And also on that, actually, it's worth mentioning. So I think with lead generation, what you want to do is have that consistent flow of clients. In the beginning, when I did this, I could take on 8 clients in a month. Whoa, it's a lot. Then nothing happened for 2 months, and then you have 2 clients. But once you start targeting your audience, and once you start doing campaigns and pressing play, you can have that consistent flow of clients. Bear in mind, though, you don't want too little and you don't want too much. So you want to try and find that sweet spot, That could be 5, that could be 10. Even as part of my survey, I say to them, how many leads do you think you want per week or per month? And some they say to me, I want 20 a week. I know that this is not going to happen. It's great to have ambition, but once they come in, it's just not going to happen. So it's better to be really, really niche, But also on that, some people stay with me maybe for 2 months. Some people stay over 2 years. It's exactly like you say, it depends a little bit on a one-man band might only want 20 clients. And if we can reach that for him in the first 2 or 3, or she, 2-3 months, happy days. They leave, got exactly what they wanted, give me a lovely testimonials, and we move on. But then for the larger companies that might have 5 or 8 sales teams or financial advisors, they might want to go on for much longer and continuously, because they might want 5 or 10 every single month.
I have so many ideas how you and I are working together in the future. There's a reason why we're on this call today. And there's a reason why we kept in contact, because this is exciting to me personally, but also for my academy that leads into running your own financial advice business. one of the biggest problems financial advisors have when they start out is generating clients. I've got aspirations to create a self-employed financial advice business where people go through my academy and then become IFAs, training and development and coaching alongside their first couple of years, but also lead generation. So that is super interesting to me on that part. The other area is the multiple product range that I've got, how you can help me on that also as well.
But I had a financial advisor that he was just starting out and they only stayed for 2 months because of cash flow.
Yep.
But he said to me, and this was something I'd never done before, he said, I need some CMAP young people to come on board.
Yeah.
I said, okay, what is clients? No, to join me. So he then decided to do a campaign writing specifically to them, and he hired 4 people from it.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can do that alongside doing a campaign to targeted clients if you want to. And this, you can do different things at
multiple
different
things.
levels.
Multiple things. Yeah. You could do it as partnerships if you wanted to run partnerships with people.
Yeah.
Organic. So we talked about tools, right? We talked about, like, you talked about automation, you talked about Sales Navigator. Now, some people get LinkedIn profiles and they just have the very basics, and the very basics limits you on what you can and can't do. Now, you talked also about Sales Navigator. There's premium badges. There's LinkedIn Recruiter. They probably wouldn't use that because they're not recruiters. What do you think, if someone's kind of wanting to start out and start to run these campaigns and put a bit more thought into reaching out to people, what should they expect as an early investment on their own part, just for buying things like, you know, the tools associated to running these sorts of campaigns?
So there are 2 things really I would say. So one is Sales Navigator. It's a must. If you want to have highly targeted leads, you need Sales Navigator as one of the filtering tools. I believe they charge £79 GBP per month. And I would say stay monthly, because you never know. Don't pay 1 year upfront. And the other thing that you could potentially use is a call scheduling link. I know a lot of people use Calendly, which I know have free features. I don't use them. Not sure why, but I went with Schedule Once. They are now called Once Hub. Completely similar. I pay about $15 per month. But those, I would say, to begin, if you want to do this on your own, definitely get Sales Navigator and definitely get a call link incorporated, because remember, you can filter your target audience really, really well with Sales Navigator. And once you optimize your profile and you write your messages, you can incorporate your call link into both of those areas. And that in itself would work really well.
So really kind of organically, if you were doing it yourself, it's your time and energy. It's probably like including Schedule One, or Calendly. You're probably looking, plus Sales Navigator, £100 max or something like that. And obviously the time and energy that goes into it to learn it for a start. And then obviously the management and the maintenance of actually running the campaigns. So if you're that person and you can do it, fair play. If not, then you can lean into someone like you to help manage
possibly get an automation tool, which they vary. There's so many of them, but maybe $75 per month.
What's
if you want to scale.
What's your go-to automation tool for LinkedIn?
So the one I use is called Ulink, but they no longer exist, and I'm not sure why for new businesses. But when I take clients on board, I just get extra seats for the duration of them being with me, and I use Ulink. I know there's a really good one out there called Octopus. I've looked at it. I've not used it, so I'm not as comfortable with that one. They're all quite similar, you know, but you want someone that's really good with the algorithm on LinkedIn, so you don't get too many connection requests going out. You don't want your account to be blocked, for example.
Yes.
And the one I use, yes, there's a maximum of 100 connection requests, but they've also got group messaging, and you can do, I think, about 500. And they've also got InMail, and you get your 20 a month. So that in itself, those 3, you want a system that's really, really good.
InMail is obviously a credits, whereas like sending a mail is like to a first connection. Do these automated programs also, do they also allow for unlimited messages to first connections?
No, I think that's part of the message. I'm just trying to think that there's so many different, because you can obviously also go down the email route if you want to do it with something like MailChimp, and there you can do unlimited.
Yeah. Okay. Don't want to give any more away really for free, do we? You know, we don't want to give people too much. I think, God almighty, someone could listen to this episode now and absolutely scale their business. I think I'm confident that we've given enough value add, I think, on this episode about what people can do in respect of their LinkedIn to generate new clients. I think I would just end on this. When it comes to targeting clients that you're looking to get on board, say as investments, for example, right? So in the world of financial advice, a client would be somebody who's a B2C, right? Mm-hmm. Or B2B might be you working with them as an introducer. Out of those two, which one would you advise someone to do first, B2C or B2B, when it comes to generating new clients?
Definitely B2B. And LinkedIn is the place for that. The results you get business to business is just phenomenal. It's so strong.
Okay, that's really, really good advice. So you get a better response, you get a better engagement rate through B2B.
I would say so, yeah. They both work. But the other way, but there's so many different options. Obviously, you can go through the groups and find commonalities to engage with the other people, if you like.
It goes down to the research again and the persona and
recognizing. Because not everyone who's a business owner is looking for another business owner, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's where the filtering comes in.
But, you know, you're not sending a message directly to the business entity. You're sending it to somebody within the business of influence.
Yeah.
And it's about targeting
and
specifically.
And this is the thing as well with the targeting on LinkedIn. It really saves a lot of time because you can get to the ultimate decision maker rather than, you know, speaking to someone that might not be able to make the decision. And then that takes another call and another call. And that's the beauty with LinkedIn, because you can target people directly. You can see exactly who you're going to talk to.
Paola, thank you so much for your time today.
Pleasure.
We're going to get this released on the podcast, obviously, and we'll do a LinkedIn content campaign. We're going to talk also on that about how people can then reach out and contact you. It's Paola Forsberg.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where can they find you?
On LinkedIn. Send me a connection request, write me a message. I would say, start there. Alternatively, you will see, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, there will be a call link as well, a scheduler that we can incorporate under the podcast as well in the comments if someone wants to directly book a call to discuss further details.
And only click on that and book it in if you're interested. Don't waste their time.
Yeah. Yes. Very true.
Because you're busy. Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing all that free knowledge and all that information about how to really use LinkedIn effectively to generate business. I think this is going to be a top episode. I really, really do. And I think people really want to understand this. And I think the financial planning profession is a bit behind. And I think, bearing in mind, I use LinkedIn all the time. And from this, I've just got loads of really great ideas. So I really appreciate it.
Financial advisors still go to all the seminars. They still do the, local newspaper ads. And this is just elevates it. Like you say, it's on steroids, and you can work really smart, not hard, but get much better results.
They go to all these networking events, and guess what? They talk to a couple of people, and those couple of people are financial advisors.
Yes. I know.
It's ridiculous. It's such a waste of time. I'm not a fan of networking events. I think they're absolutely pointless. Waste of time. Not my cup of tea in the slightest. Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time today.
No worries. Pleasure. Thank you very much, Sam, for having me.